Data from HackTheBox is an easy-level Linux CTF that is in TJ Null's OSCP prep list, and since I'm planning on taking the OSCP in the near future, I thought I'd give it a try and give you guys my walkthrough on how I completed the box. The box is quite straightforward, with the foothold involving a Grafana web application vulnerable to a public exploit, and the privilege escalation involving sudo permissions over the Docker binary. So with the box spawned and IP address known, let's get started. The first thing we want to do is run an Nmap scan against all TCP ports, and what I like to do is set the flags for basic scripts, service enumeration, and operating system enumeration. And since I already ran this earlier, we can cat out the output. And we see for TCP we just have port 22 and port 3000 open, 22 being SSH and port 3000 being a Grafana web application. And we can also check for all UDP ports, but after running that scan you will find that there are no UDP ports open. So since we don't have any SSH credentials, let's go ahead and visit that Grafana web application over port 3000. And when we visit the web page, we're redirected to a login screen. And at the very bottom of the page here, we're given a version of Grafana running, which is version 8.0.0. So the very first thing I like to do when I find a web application with a version number exposed, I will look up that application with the version number and then exploit GitHub to see if there's any proof of concepts or exploitable CVEs that we can use to potentially gain a foothold. And the very first result is for a path traversal vulnerability. And it looks like this vulnerability affects versions 8.0.0 through 8.3.0. And this GitHub page isn't going to give us a proof of concept, this is just an advisory. But what we do now have is a CVE that we can use to search for proof of concepts. So now I'm going to search Grafana, the CVE exploit GitHub. Eventually I came across this proof of concept that lets us exploit the vulnerability and also download the file that we're trying to access, which will be important in just a moment. There are multiple POCs out there that you can get to work, such as this one on exploitdb, but I'm going to choose this one particularly because it downloads the file that we're trying to access. So back in my terminal, I've created a new folder named after the CVE we're trying to exploit, and I've downloaded both the exploitdb exploit as well as the GitHub exploit that also downloads the file that we're trying to read. So let's test to make sure this exploit actually works. If we run python 3 and then the exploitdb script, we see that we need a -h argument for the host that we're trying to exploit. So we can go ahead and put in the URL to the Grafana web application. And now it's asking us to enter a file that we want to read. So to test that this actually works, we can read the passwd file. And as you can see, we get the output of that etc passwd file right here. So now that we know arbitrary file read is possible, we need to find a way to exploit this to actually gain a foothold on the box. And this is likely going to be either through an SSH private key or a credentials file. We do see a Grafana user here with a home directory of home Grafana, but they don't have a bash shell to log into, so this is likely not where we're going to get our foothold. So me never having stood up a Grafana web application or having used Grafana in the past, I had to look up what local files exist for a Grafana application that may contain some sensitive information such as passwords or hashes. And after searching around, I found that the etc grafana.ini file, which is the config file for Grafana, could contain some sensitive information like a secret key or clear text credentials. And then there's also the varlib grafana.db database file, which would contain credentials for any users that have been set up for the application. So let's first take a look at etc grafana.ini, and we get back a pretty large configuration file. And starting from the top, we get some information about some other potential paths that exist on the system that could contain some interesting information, such as data being stored in varlib grafana and logs being in varlog grafana. We see an SQLite3 database exists, which we may be able to log into with the user root and no password. Under the security portion of the configuration file, we see an admin user admin with an admin password admin, which we could potentially try to use to log into the web application. And we also see this secret key, which is useful for creating login sessions. But that's really about it for this configuration file. If we go back to the login page and try to log in as admin, unfortunately we don't get signed in. So I'm thinking we're going to have better luck with the varlib grafana.db database file. But if we try and read this just straight out, we get a massive database file that is formatted very poorly, that is very hard to read. So the better approach here would be to download that database file using the exploit we found on GitHub, so that we can open it with a tool like SQLite3, and then actually be able to enumerate the database in an easier way. So this POC requires a -u flag, where we will put in the same URL. The -f flag is where we're going to specify the file we want to download, and then we can save that file to our own grafana.db with the -o flag. And after running that, we see the exploit was successful and we've saved the file to grafana.db. And running file against the database file does show us that it is an SQLite3 database. So we can open this up with the SQLite3 command and then specifying the file. To get all of the tables in the database, we can just do a .tables, and we see that there is a users table. And after looking up the structure of the Grafana users table, We can select the ID, name, password, salt, and is_admin columns from the users table to pull out all the juicy information that exists for the users in the application. And this gives us back 2 results. There is no username listed for the first entry, but we know that they're the admin because the is_admin flag is set to 1. And this long string right here is the password hash, and the salt is this second string right here. And then the second entry is for the user Boris with a password hash and salt, and they are also not an admin user. And unfortunately, these hashes are not crackable with Hashcat as is. We need to change up the format a little bit before we can run them through Hashcat. But luckily, if we just look up Grafana hash converter with Google, the very first result is a Python script called Grafana 2 Hashcat that will let us convert those hashes from the database into a version that is compatible with Hashcat. So scrolling down a bit for the usage, we need to have a hashes file in the format hash, salt. And then we just run the script and use the hashes file that we create, and the output should give us Hashcat compatible hashes that we can crack with mode 10900. So first things first, let's go ahead and create that hashes.txt file. Paste in the first hash, then do a comma with the salt, and we'll do the same thing for the Boris user as well. Now we can save this and then run it with our Grafana 2 Hashcat Python tool. And we get 2 hashes here that we can now save to a new file called something like converted.txt. Save that. And now we can run Hashcat with mode 10900 against our converted.txt hash list and the rocku.txt word list. Since I already ran this earlier when I was actually doing the box, I can run --show, and we see that one of the passwords was successfully cracked with the password beautiful1. And if we go back to our word list, the hash that cracked is the second entry in our word list, which was the Boris user's password. We can confirm this by trying to log into Grafana as the user Boris with the password beautiful1, and we see we get logged in. We could also try to authenticate to the machine over SSH with the command SSH Boris at the IP address of our machine. Type in the password beautiful1, and we also get logged in. And Boris also has our user.txt flag in their home directory. So now that we have our foothold and the user flag, the very first thing I like to do, even before running any enumeration scripts, is just running sudo-l to see if I can run any commands as sudo. And we can actually run the snap bin docker binary as the root user without knowing their password. But there's a bit of a catch because we can only run the exec function and then anything after it. So being able to run the exec function of Docker as root is really powerful, because if we were to find the ID of a container image, we'd be able to run that container as root and potentially mount the host file system to that container to also gain root privileges over the host file system. But since we can only run this exec function as root, it's going to be a little bit trickier to actually find the container images that we can take over. Something like attempting snap bin docker image ls to list any images that exist is going to give us a permission denied. And we also can't run this as sudo because it's not the exec function. We get an error saying Boris can't execute that command. And we also don't have permission to do something like lxc image list because we're not a member of the Linux containers group. But what we can do is list any of the processes that are running on the system using psaux, and then piping that through grep to specifically look for any instances that contain the word Docker. And thankfully this gives us a container ID of this very long string of letters and numbers, which appears to be the Grafana web application that we were attacking earlier. So now that we know the idea of the Grafana container image, we can make use of the sudo snap bin docker exec function by specifying the -- privilege flag, -u0 -it, the string of the container image, and then spawning a shell with bin bash. And we see that we get root, but this is root on the container image and not the actual host itself. So seeding into root doesn't give us the root flag. What we need to do is now mount the host file system onto this container and get the root flag that way. So to do that, we can do an fdisk-l to list all of the mountable drives that exist. And the output is dev-sda1, which is the primary drive of the host system, and then dev-sda2, which is the swap drive or swap file. So let's go ahead and create a new directory that we can use to mount the dev-sda drive to. I'm going to create the directory mount host. And now I'm going to run the mount command, and I'm going to mount dev-sda1 to mount host. Now if we cd to mount host, and list it out, we have the file system of the server hosting this container, which is the system we got a foothold on. And now if we cd into root and list out the directory, we see we have our root.txt that we can cat out and read. So that's it for this walkthrough on the data CTF. If you found this video useful, please leave a like and subscribe for more content like this. Join the Discord and follow the Twitch channel to catch me doing boxes live, and I'll see you in the next one. See ya.